gossip, discontent, and self-pity, she will not eat. Her children rise up and call her blessed, happy, fortunate, and to be envied. And her husband boasts of the praises and praises her, saying, Many daughters have done virtuously, nobly, and well, with the strength of character that is steadfast in goodness, but you excel them all. Charm and grace are deceptive, and beauty is vain, because it is not lasting, but a woman who reverently and worshipfully fears the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates of the city. So that's a long, I know that's a long scripture, but what characteristics can you pick out of that?
She does what she needs to do. She doesn't take care of her family and her husband, and she don't care what everything else is around her. She doesn't mix around with gossip and all that kind of stuff. She's about her family and her kids and her husband.
And then
Being an example
yeah.
for them.
So with the definition that was given in that scripture, what examples are you setting for like your children or your husband, or what characteristics do you possess right now in your marriage or your relationships?
I grew up in a family that's, they have respect is a lot in the family, and just having morals and values, and I'm a determined person when I look in the mirror, so that's all the things that I try to build in my family.
And I think too that with that, like I was saying earlier, it's really the woman's job to be there and be the backbone for the husband and for the children. And when the kids see that, that's the mom's role, that she's there to really, she has a respect for her husband. They don't see her out, disrespecting him by either words or deed. Then that says a lot for the mother and what the kids are seeing. I think that causes good morals that the children are also taking in as well.
And then for me, out of all that, the most important trait for me would be God-fearing. And I think that's important because if you don't have the Spirit of God in you, you don't have anybody to hold you accountable for things that you may do, because ultimately you'll be convicted or you'll feel bad or however for something when you mistreat your kids, your husband, family, whoever. So for me, in a relationship, the most important is that both of you are God-fearing, because then you have someone to hold you accountable for, your relationship and your actions for others. But another good one is dependability. And your husband has to be able to depend on you for a lot of different things. Most of the time in the household, the wife is the one that does money, helps do homework and get the kids back and forth, get him situated and everything. So you have to be dependable. And that's important. But there's a lot of women that may not be. But it's very important that your husband can depend on you, knowing that if he goes away, the house will still function. And so that's a big aspect or a big portion of that. And for me, like in my situation, Will is overseas. But he has to be able to depend on me to know that I will still take care of the bills. I will still be able to run things the way that they need to be ran. Like if he calls me and says, hey, I need this, he can depend and know that I'm really going to go take care of that. And he doesn't have to ask me more than one or two times to say, hey, can you go do this? And then he can focus on what he's doing over there. And most men, that's really important in a relationship, that your husband can depend on you. And most men will say that's one of their most traits that they most want in a wife. And then the other one was wisdom. So are you wise with money? With things that you may say to your children, with things that you may say to your husband, with things that you may say to your friends. Because a lot of times, you confide in friends, but are you careful of what you're saying and who you're confiding in? Because you don't always want your business, just out there. You want to be able to trust the person. So are you being wise with the information in your relationships? Because of course we all go through stuff. So if you're if you are, say I'm confiding in Adley, is that wise of me to do that? Do I know that she'll be able to hold that information and not go tell all of you guys what me and her talked about? You know what I mean? So you have to be wise, not just in what you're saying, but how you're spending money and how you're, running the household. So for a woman, it's wisdom. So do you guys have that wisdom, or do you operate in that wisdom in your relationship? So that's a good question to ask. And then, so then going back to that first scripture, 12:4, a wife of noble character is her husband's crown, but a disgraceful wife is the decay of his bones. And it's important that we understand what our place is. We have to, not just with our husband, with our family. And so we have to understand how we operate as a dynamic, what we're here for. And if we step out of our position as a helpmate, then we can damage the whole dynamic of the family in general. And, once you step out of place, then it causes all kinds of chaos. So when we take him out of the leadership role and then put ourselves in a leadership role, then it messes up the whole dynamic of the family, because that's not what we're here. He's the head, we're the neck. So we're the person that helps him. He might be going the wrong way. You kind of turn him and, try to lead him back the right way. But we have to understand where we are. Because I know a lot of women have been raised to take care of everything. But we have to give our husbands or our significant others their position and be in our position. So it's important, and that's one of the reasons why I asked you, when you look in the mirror, what do you see? Because it's important that you understand what you see about yourself, because there's some things that we as women have to work on. Even for me, I'm one of the people that like to do everything. It didn't matter. Will can let me pay for it. No, I got it. I got a job. I got money. I got it. But I had to step back and let him be the man. I mean, that's what he's here for. He's the one that runs my household. So when it comes to paying bills and all of that, I look to him first, like, okay, these are the bills that need to be paid. And then, yes, I'm his helpmate, so we do it together, but he needs to run. Even though he's not here, he still runs my household. So no matter what it is, I call him and go, hey, this is what's going on, what are we going to do? We talk it out and, we move on. But ultimately, when he says this is what we're going to do, I'm like, all right, that's what we're going to do, because he's the head. So we just have to understand what it is that we are here for and what it is that we see. And if it's being very, very independent, that might be something that you need to work on. If it's not being so wise, that might be something you can work on. If it's not being dependable, that might be something that you need to work on, because ultimately when you put all those things together and you can become that virtuous wife for him, then a lot of other things will fall into place better than, if you guys are kind of out of sync. So I really enjoyed this scripture because it made me look at myself in the mirror too and say, what is it that I need to work on about me? But I think that it's a very good scripture for women and mothers in general, because it tells you and it shows you some of the characteristics that make a virtuous woman, or what God has called us to be as a wife. Because I think I was talking to Adley and she was like, well, what do you mean? So the first thing she said was compromising. I said, no, not so much that, because that's what it's for, like a relationship. But this is more like me as a wife. I'm not a mother, but as a wife, and for her as a mother, who am I called to be? You know what I mean? What am I called to do? What are the characteristics that I should take on and maintain? So it's a very good scripture to really dig deep in and to kind of understand who you are. So that's what I wanted to share with you. It's long, I'm sorry, but that's just the scripture itself. But I appreciate you guys coming and listening to me. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to add or subtract or whatever. No?
That was good.
Mm-hmm.